Hello. I think I accidentally invented a pretty good glow ink farm. I'll be honest, I only did it because I wanted to have a funny title for a video in my Let's Play series. But I built this thing and it has been quite productive and it's actually good. It's producing glow ink and also normal ink. And I'll show you how it's supposed to work, what I'm doing, and even how to build it. Even though I usually don't have guides for how to build farms, this one, well, I think it's best explained by me just showing you how to build it. Why aren't they attacking me? Yeah, strange. There we go. They are not attacking me because my particles are down, because this is very annoying to debug when all the laser beams are shooting from the Guardians. So yes, we are killing the Glow Squid with Guardians, and let me explain why. So we are here in Creative, and I just want to start by showing you how mobcaps work. So everything is empty, there is no mobs here, we are in a completely void world. Well, there are some experimental builds here, but right where I am here, there is nothing. And I add a Glow Squid, and the squid is being counted as an underground water creature. I add an axolotl, and before it kills the squid, we can see that the mobcap went to 2, so they're counted as the same mobcap. We can spawn a squid, though, and the squid is counted as a water creature. So the squids don't interfere with underground water creatures. This is important to know. And just for future reference, since we're doing testing like this, if I manage to spawn a dolphin here, come on. That's a dolphin. It flew away, but for a second we saw that the dolphin was a water creature, and goodbye dolphin and goodbye axolotl. This is important because it means that when axolotls spawn, they are preventing glow squid from spawning. And that is a problem because the spawn conditions for axolotls and glow squid, as far as I know, are exactly the same. So it needs to be a 5-high water column above a stone. Could be some other blocks, I don't really care, I'm only using stone. And it also has to be dark, and when all those conditions are fulfilled and the mobcap isn't full, we can get a glow squid, or we can get an axolotl. And the axolotls will attack the squids, but that is a very inefficient way of killing the squids. So I first tried developing just a normal farm like this that I've seen many months ago, maybe even more than a year ago, where the glow squid and axolotls would spawn, and they swim around and they end up in the air gaps between the water columns, and then they fall down and we pack up the loot. And the efficiency of this farm is pretty good. It's, I think this prototype here, without any optimizations, is about 1200 ink sacks or glow ink sacks per hour. But I do believe, I have not tried building this in survival, but I think this will have a massive problem. And the problem will be that you will have to clear all the water anywhere underground in the despawn sphere. And that can be a massive amount of work. Without a perimeter, I don't think this farm would work. I'm not sure, I might be wrong here, but like I said, I haven't tried, but this discouraged me from trying. So I decided to go for a little bit of a meme attempt to kill the axolotls and the squids, because I wanted a funny title for my Let's Play series, and the funny title would be Killing Glow Squid with Lasers. The lasers coming from the Guardian, of course. Now, I started with trying a setup like this, where I would just have the Guardians from a nearby Guardian farm, I would put them in minecarts, and I would just build stacks of Guardians like this, and they would be shooting the axolotls and glow squids through some blocks. And this kind of works. Unfortunately, there is a problem here. And the problem is that the axolotls kill the Guardians. It's a war of attrition. It takes a very long time for the axolotls to actually kill the Guardians, especially when this is completely filled. I had an accident with peaceful modes here, so we only have 4 Guardians for now. But I have not managed to find a way to prevent the axolotls from killing the Guardians. I'm sure there is a way, but I just didn't spend enough time on this. So I figured, well, I would need a mechanism for replenishing the Guardians automatically, and that means building this near an ocean monument. And then it struck me, why don't I just build the whole thing in an ocean monument and have the Guardians spawn naturally inside the farm? No messing around with minecarts, no complications. Just let both the Glow Squids and the Guardians spawn in the same place and let them fight it out. So I did. And the result is this. Well, the result was what you saw in the beginning in my survival world, and this is the creative version where I have had more time to optimize it a little bit, because, well, it's easier to optimize things in creative. So what we're having here is an ocean monument. As you can see below here, there is the ocean monument, and we have spawn-proofed all the area around here where the boundaries of the monument are. We don't spawn-proof the water just outside here, and I'll get into that why in a minute. And in the middle here, we have a 14 by 34 platform of stone, and then 5 blocks of water above where the Glow Squid can spawn, and also where the Guardians spawn, and axolotls as well. And the Guardians are shooting the axolotls and the Glow Squid with lasers, and the loot drops, it floats up, gets into these water streams, floats to the side, and ends up in the hoppers. But the packed ice here is actually quite important, and it solves quite a few problems. And we can't have hoppers where the packed ice is either, for other reasons, and that's why we also cannot make the tank wider. Just trust me on that. I have done experimentation. Basically, loot would get stuck in various places unless we build it exactly like this. I'll show you soon how to build it. And we have an AFK spot above, and just because I was lazy, I built the whole roof that is keeping the whole thing dark just above the AFK spot, but of course you can have it lower if you really want to. It doesn't really matter. The AFK spot turns out to be extremely critical for the rates of the farm, just by moving the block I'm standing on. So moving it up by 1 block will reduce the rates of the farm by a significant amount, and also lowering the block like this changes the rates very significantly. This doesn't mean that other blocks that shouldn't be spawnable become spawnable. But there is some very strange interaction which I'm not 100% understanding just yet, which makes this farm less efficient depending on where I stand. And I'll give you my speculation later. So let's find a fresh ocean monument that we haven't used yet, and I'll show you exactly how to build it, and then I will discuss the various optimization I've done to this. So, start by finding an ocean monument. It doesn't really matter which biome it is in, even though I had a hypothesis that it would matter, but I'll get into that later. It doesn't matter, which is very strange, but it can be anywhere. Find the corners or the coordinates of the corners of the monument, and you don't have to build a tower like this, but you want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 block below the water surface. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 block. And you just want a floor. It doesn't have to be glass, but it needs to be something that is not spawnable. You want a floor from this corner to the other corner right here. Just need to cover it. And also drain everything. But before you do that, may I recommend something? And that is to use any useful block to mark out these 4 spots in the middle, because it just makes it much more convenient when you know where the middle is. And the first thing, like I said, you do is to just encase this whole thing in a fish tank and drain it. Yes, we need to drain. We don't need to drain to the bottom of the monument. We don't need to remove any of the structure except some bits here at the top, but we need to drain the water. So get that done, and we'll talk about the next steps later. So once you drain this area of the ocean monument, let's go back to the 4 blocks we marked in the beginning, and let's start just building the platform where the glow squid are gonna be spawning. So from this, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And we want a square that goes all around here, and the same thing from here. We just need to replace these and 16 from here. 1, 2, 3, 14, 15, 16. So that you end up with a 34 by 14 square of stone in the middle. Let's do that. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this is the optimal size for the spawning tank, but I think bigger is better. It seems like it is, because the glow squid, we are always hitting the mob cap even with a very small tank, but with a big tank, we're not hitting the mob cap on guardians, and there is a good reason for that, and I'll get into that later. But another thing we want to do right now, it is to find an AFK spot. And you can build your AFK spot anywhere above one of these blocks. It doesn't really matter which one, but you need to go to Y level 186. And I started falling, but that's fine. Set block. Of course, in survival, you will probably do this with a scaffolding or something like that. Here, we want the AFK spot to be at Y level 185. Oh, I was lucky, and it ended up exactly where it should be. Now, just save the AFK spot for later. You don't need to build a roof above it just yet, because we're going to be building a roof soon anyway. So let's go back here. We can now remove these blocks because they are no longer necessary. And yeah, we need a fish tank around this whole platform that is 5 blocks high. So like this and all the way around. And I don't know why I said 5 blocks high, because the short sides are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks high. And the long sides are 4 blocks of glass or pretty much anything, and they are topped with packed ice. There is one gap here, and then we're moving glass up to the level that we have the entire wall. Now, let's just add a temporary loot system. You might probably want to improve this. This is just good enough for at least the first experiments if you want to do with this farm, before you figure out how much loot it generates and how much storage system you need. Now, we need to extend hoppers like this, and yes, we could probably do something intelligent with water streams here, but that might not be the greatest idea, and I'll show you in a second when we look at how this farm works. So let's just put hoppers like this, and let's not put them incorrectly like I am doing right now. That's too many hoppers, and these don't belong. And do this on both sides, because that's where the loot is going to be floating in. Now it's time to fill the entire thing with water. You will probably need to do something like this in survival, so just a bucket every other block, or maybe just use ice. And then every other block here, like this. And now the whole thing is filled with water. I will, of course, do just this because we're in creative and I can do that. Now comes the next part, which is a little bit annoying and but very, very necessary. Fill this entire layer with dirt. There might be a better way of doing this, but I don't know what that method would be. So this is the way I have done it in survival, and I know it works. So this entire layer is with dirt because it's very easy to break, even underwater. Then find the middle, which should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It should be these 2 blocks? No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 7th block from each end is the middle. And this part is also not strictly necessary. It just makes it easier to place the water without missing a spot. So I prefer to do this. So fill these 2 rows with dirt, and we're going to be putting water in the middle. Like this. and the whole thing should be filled, and now we're removing the water. Be very careful and don't remove the water below these blocks, so this layer needs to stay in until the water has spread correctly. And anytime you messed with any blocks, including the ice or some blocks on the side that changes how the water flows, might require you to do this whole process again. So be very careful with the dirt, because we don't want the water to spread incorrectly. We want to see all the water flowing right to the edge of the hoppers like this. And remove this bar as well. Now comes the most annoying part of the entire project. Well, unless you count being shot by guardians, which, well, sorry, we're working in an ocean monument, you will get shot by guardians. But from the building perspective, this is the most annoying part. Remove the entire platform of dirt, and after you've removed the dirt, well, it's water spreading time, and be very, very meticulous here, because you want water sources exactly everywhere, because otherwise the loot will get stuck and misbehave. So the best thing is to just float under here with a bucket and just hit every single bit of ice. Because even though it's probably not necessary and you can do every other one, I messed it up in survival and I had to redo it a couple of times before I got it right and got pedantic about it. So be pedantic and just hit everything at least once, and now we should have water sources everywhere. Just to make sure, I will do this. And yes, everything was water sources. Now, everything down here is done. The only thing that is left to do is to make a roof. If you want to do this properly, you probably want a roof that first covers everything from this corner to this corner, and then extend out 16 blocks in that direction, 16 blocks in that direction, 16 blocks in that direction, and 16 blocks in that direction, and that will give you everything you need. I will be just lazy because I'm in creative and I will create a much bigger roof. You can get away with a much smaller roof, but that's up to you. Like this. So I'm using stone slabs. It is important that 1, the blocks don't let any light through, and 2, that they are not spawnable. So these are bottom slabs. And that's it. Now we have a roof above our AFK spot, and the farm is ready. The farm is now fully functional. Stay here and enjoy around 1850 glow ink sacs per hour. So, with the power of the magic of editing, I am here to tell you that, well, part of the guide was completely wrong. Yes, I have almost finished editing this, and then a few people on Discord and in the comments for my Let's Play video where I built this originally pointed out that my roof was too high. Well, I was thinking that the roof height doesn't matter for the spawning of the axolotls and the glow squids, because we are at mob cap all the time, but I'm not at mob cap for the guardians. So, yeah, I lowered the roof, and just see the counter here. 2,430 glow ink sacs per hour. So yes, it does matter, because if we look at the mob cap for the guardians, they are constantly going up to 70. Nothing else about the farm changed. I did test if the AFK spot position now matters, and it's exactly the same. The one that I said earlier was the best. It is, or actually it might be later in the video, because I don't know where I'm gonna edit this part in, but I need to tell you that lowering the roof really helps. I put the roof at Y level 65, as we can see here, so it's just on the top level of the farm. Potentially it could be lowered by 1 more block, but it probably matters, but doesn't really matter that much. So either put the roof at the same level, because this is where I tested it, so Y level 65, or you can even lower it down 1 block so it's just above the water sources here that are spreading the loot. Everything else is the same, but lower the roof. The rest of the guide is still valid and everything is exactly the same, just the roof. What's going on here is that the Guardians are shooting the axolotls and the glow squid, and also squids, and the loot floats up and floats to the side. That's it. The interesting details that I try to optimize is trying to put this farm in a normal ocean. So the first prototype I built was actually in a cold ocean, and cold ocean don't spawn dolphins. And I was thinking that having this somewhere where dolphins can spawn would prevent the squid from spawning, which would allow the Guardians like more time spent on the axolotls and the glow squid. And that doesn't seem to matter at all. I don't know why. Maybe it is because the dolphins are picking up loot and then they are despawning and the loot doesn't drop. But I think they drop the ink sacs even when they despawn. I am not exactly sure what's going on, but the dolphins don't seem to matter at all. And if they do, it's not something I could measure. Now, if you are measuring things carefully, you might have noticed something. And if we enable our despawn sphere, you will have noticed that we haven't spawn-proofed this water here. And that is fine, because no glow squid can spawn here, because we are way above any stone, so that is fine, and it might even be too bright, depending on how well you build the roof. Guardians cannot spawn in here, which is great, because we want all the Guardians in here. There is a microscopic chance that the drowned will spawn here, but I don't think that matters at all, and I don't think I have ever seen a drowned during all my testing, so that is something we can disregard. But we get squid spawning here, and I do believe that is actually quite useful, because that prevents squid from spawning in here, and that allows the Guardians to focus more on the glow squid and kill the glow squid and the axolotls faster. That was the same theory as the dolphins, by the way, but the dolphins don't matter. But this area actually does matter. I have tested this even in survival, and it affects rates. Not greatly, but it does. And I'm trying to catch this in action. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to happen, but sometimes the glow squids or the axolotls jump up on the side here. Oh, like that one, maybe. That was too late because it already died. And that might make it much slower for the Guardians to kill them. So I have attempted to lower the hoppers by 1 block and putting either soul campfires or soul sand with roses on top of them, but that didn't affect rates at all, actually made them worse. No idea why, I can't explain it, but that's what happened. So no extra killing mechanism on the hoppers here, but if you want to experiment, that might be an idea. For example, like this squid. This squid is now gonna stay here for a while until it despawns naturally. Or if a Guardian jumps up here and starts shooting it. It seems to make it worse if I try to specifically solve this problem, but that is a potential optimization for the future. And also, you might notice something kind of weird. There are barely no mobs at the bottom, and there is something weird going on which I can't really explain. So, MiniHUD is showing me this despawn sphere, which shows that it's just touching the floor, but I don't think anything can spawn in this area here. You saw a Guardian just despawn here. And these ones are, yeah, they just despawn too soon after spawning. So I don't think these blocks here are spawnable. We even see here, we have a few blocks here which are not spawnable, but I think even the blocks around this area are not spawnable. So you would imagine that it would help to lower the AFK spot. But let's start by just standing here, and you can see the mob cap for the Guardians is hovering around between 30 and 40, sometimes up to 50, but it never hits 70, and that is because things are despawning. But if I remove this block here and stand down here, relatively fast, the mob cap increases. Not by much, but it starts hitting 70 sometimes. It's getting up to 60 now, and now much fewer Guardians despawn. So we would imagine that this would improve the rates of the farm. In fact, it makes it much, much worse. This is why I was saying that the AFK spot placement is critical to the performance of this farm. And my speculation, I have not really proven this to myself, but I think that's what's going on. And it is when the axolotls are playing dead, like that one, for example, when they often sink down to the bottom, and that removes them from the mobcap much faster than being shot by the guardians. It doesn't seem to hurt to recycle the guardians too often. The axolotls despawning when they're sinking, they're not always sinking, but they keep their momentum in one direction when they're playing dead, like that one. I'm not sure if that's exactly the mechanism of why it helps, but it really improves the rates of this farm. The difference between having the AFK spot here and having the AFK spot here is 600 drops per hour. So when I'm standing here, my rates that I have measured are around 1850 glow ink sacs per hour. And if I just lower myself by one block, it's 1250 glow ink sacs per hour. It is very significant difference. And of course, moving higher up makes things much worse, because now you can see things are despawning all the time. Please don't make me a liar, game. Yeah, we can just see things are despawning way too much. So this seems to be a sweet spot, and I have tried adding slabs to see if that changes how the distance works, but I think Minecraft is rounding things down to a block and doesn't really care about the actual distance. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know some people who are watching me are reading the code, so let me know if I'm wrong about that, if it's the actual distance, or if it's rounded to a block, or how that exactly works. And yeah, it seems to be that simple. If you have any ideas of how to improve this, or if you have an even better idea for a glow ink farm that I should try, let me know in the comments. Or if you have any questions, ask them in the comments as well, and I answer anything I understand. But thanks a lot for watching, and have a glowing day. Bye!